In June of 1972, a woman appeared in Cedars-Sinai Hospital in nothing but a white, blood-covered gown. Now, this in itself should not be too surprising, as people often have accidents nearby and come to the nearest hospital for medical attention. But there were two things that caused people who saw her to vomit and flee in terror. The first being that she wasn't exactly human. She resembled something close to a mannequin, but had the dexterity and fluidity of a normal human being. Her face was as flawless as a mannequin's, devoid of eyebrows and smeared in makeup. She had a kitten clenched in between her teeth, her jaws clamped so unnaturally tight around it to the point where no teeth could be seen. The blood was still squirting out all over her gown and onto the floor. She then pulled it out of her mouth and tossed it aside, and collapsed. From the moment she stepped through the entrance to when she was taken to a hospital room and cleaned up before being prepared for sedation, she was completely calm, expressionless, and motionless. The doctors thought it was best to restrain her until the authorities arrived, and she did not protest. They were unable to get any kind of response from her, and most staff members felt too uncomfortable to even look directly at her for more than a few seconds. But the second the staff tried to sedate her, she fought back with extreme force. Two members of the staff had to hold her down as her body rose up on the bed with that same blank expression. She turned her emotionless eyes towards the male doctor and did something unusual. She smiled. As she did, the female doctor screamed and let go out of shock. In the woman's mouth were not human teeth, but long, sharp spikes. Too long for her mouth to close fully without causing any damage. The male doctor stared back at her for a moment before asking, "What in the hell are you?" She cracked her neck down to her shoulder to observe him, still smiling. There was a long pause. The security had been alerted and could be heard coming down the hallway. As he heard them, she darted forward, sinking her teeth into the front of his throat, ripping out part of his jugular, and letting him fall to the floor, gasping for air as he choked on his own blood. She stood up and leaned over him, her face coming dangerously close to his, as the life faded from his eyes. She leaned closer and whispered in his ear, "I am God." The doctor's eyes filled with fear as he watched her calmly walk away to greet the security men. His last ever sight would be watching her feast on them one by one. The female doctor who survived the incident named her the Expressionless. There was never a sighting of her ever again.
My sister's funeral was earlier today. She was my little sister, practically still a baby. She didn't deserve to die, especially the way that she did. Mangled, crushed flat, and churned up underneath a car's tire. They wouldn't let us see the body. I haven't told my parents that it was a suicide yet. I should tell someone, at least, because no one believes the driver when he says that she honestly jumped in the middle of the road out of nowhere. An innocent man's life is being ruined because of my sister's selfishness. I told her she was being selfish. I told her that she would regret it. But I honestly didn't think that she would do it. I thought she was too young to do something as serious as that. The guilt. The guilt is incredible. You wouldn't believe it. I wasn't there for her, and I should have been. I should have helped her. And I didn't. I don't know if I can live with it. Maybe she had the right idea.
I used to live in New Jersey, in an old Victorian, smack dab in the middle of the boonies. Where I lived, cell phones rarely got reception. Back a few decades ago, when I was a kid, a housing development went up, big places. They cleared a few miles of the barrens for it. Once the places were finished, people moved in, city people. It was either old people or new families with really young kids. People that wanted to either wind their life down or start a new one up. Nothing special. I knew a handful of the kids through elementary school, but none of them were exactly my age. They were all pretty normal. When the people moved in, my mom made an effort to meet everyone, with us being neighbors and all. There was one guy that stuck out in my mind, mainly because he was bald, yet young. Probably 38 at the oldest. I always wanted to ask about his baldness, but my mom said not to say anything, because he might have a disease or something like that. Years went by, I grew up, and I started middle school. I came home one day. I had to walk because I missed all the buses. I went past the new houses and glanced down the street, and I didn't see anyone. Not a soul. It was around 5:20 p.m. according to my watch, if I remember right. Normally, all the fathers were getting home at this time. Curiosity got to me. I walked down the street to see if something was going on. Every house was dark except for the bald man's. I glanced in his window and saw a small community of people sitting in his living room. Children, parents, and the elderly. Standing in the middle of everyone was the bald man. It seemed as though it was just a casual meeting. People were talking and laughing. Whatever. I didn't know why the hell I cared anyway. I walked home and got grounded for being late and not calling from the school. That night, my mom got a call from another local neighbor saying that she was hearing unsettling grinding noises from one of the other neighbors' houses. And it sounded like it was coming from the new houses. My mom said that someone was probably just doing some work or something like that. When she asked me if I had seen anything on my way home, I didn't answer. I was still bitter that she had grounded me in the first place. The next day, every kid from those new houses was marked absent in school. And the day after that. And the day after that. The police went to investigate that night. The first thing they found was an ear on the front lawn of the bald man's house. A severed human ear. A child's arm was found in a trash can near his home, dumped with a few empty pizza boxes. And a man's split open torso was also found in the woods behind his property, with human bite marks penetrating the flesh. The rest of the community was inside the house. All the entrances, both doors and windows, were boarded shut. When they broke down the door, they found the corpses of everyone, brutally killed. All the children, parents, and the elderly. Everyone. Some were mutilated beyond recognition, and most were missing vital organs. Forensics showed that the victims were probably alive when the organs were taken out. A child's body was also found in the oven of the house, burnt to the point where the skin melted right off his bones. Forensics believe that the child was alive when his skin started to melt. Everyone except for the bald man, were found dead. A background search on him proved that he was involved in a local ancient cult, which were known to practice in the Pine Barrens. He fled and still hasn't been found. Needless to say, what happened literally tore our community apart in multiple ways. Instead of the boogeyman, my friends and I had nightmares about something real, about a bald man. Horror movies didn't scare me because I knew they were fake. What happened in my neighborhood was real, and that terrifies me to this day. The massacre occurred in 1984, 28 years ago. I'm 41 now. I went back to my old home not too long ago. The houses are still standing, but all of them are abandoned. The single road that once connected the community to the outside world is long overgrown. It's crazy because I can't find any police files, nor can I find any news broadcasts about the murders. The houses are still there, but everything that had to do with that place seems to be gone. I could spend hours telling all the urban legends I've heard about it. Weird NJ posted a story in their book. Nothing's conclusive, no newspapers, no files. I searched the records of some of the children from my school. They were never legally documented. I can't find any of their death certificates either. But I know, and every other person that witnessed it and lived in West Milford County in 1984 knows. I cannot in any way express to you how much the events that I've described have literally ruined my life. If you doubt the reality of it, the only thing I can say is that you're wrong. This happened. This isn't a creepypasta. This isn't an urban legend. The place has a lot of names, if you want to try for reference. It used to be called New City Village. Now it's called Demon's Alley, which is a better fitting name. I'm not sure what I can say to make you believe, but what I can say is a total of 37 people were murdered in the most brutal way imaginable. And I've never been the same.
My son and I, we often play games. He's 5, so our games can range from pirate battles in the middle of the ocean to simple board games such as Chutes and Ladders. Today, we decided to play hide and seek. I counted to 50 while he ran and hid in one of the only 3 hiding places that he always picks. Ready or not, here I come, I called out as I slowly made my way towards the sofa. I looked down and, what do you know, there he was. 2 little feet sticking out from the couch, accompanied by muffled laughter. "Oh, I can't find you anywhere," I exclaimed, knowing that the idea that he had hidden well would cause him to jump out in excitement. "Right," I said. "Time for bed." As I tucked my son into bed and kissed him goodnight, a small figure appeared at the bedroom door. "Mommy," it whispered, "you didn't come to find me."